Hey everybody, my name's Nick Smith. I'm a product marketing engineer with the Low Power RF group at Texas Instruments. My group works with technologies like Thread, Bluetooth Low Energy, Zigbee, sub 1 gigahertz, and various multi-standard and multi-band combinations of those technologies. So today I'm going to try one of our examples from one of our newest released products. I'm going to be working with the 26X2 LaunchPad. This LaunchPad is based on the 2652R device, and that's a multi-standard 2.4 gigahertz device that supports Zigbee, Thread, and Bluetooth Low Energy. So I'm going to be working on this LaunchPad and do an example that has some Bluetooth 5 interfacing with the LaunchPad and then a simple Thread network. And this is my first time actually unboxing this and running the example, so just bear with me as I try to run through this. So first thing, in the box we have the nice friendly user's guide and the LaunchPad. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up. All right, so I have my LaunchPad with my 2652 device, and then there should be a micro USB cable in there as well. Okay. So I'm going to plug this in to my USB port and plug in the LaunchPad, and it should power up. So we're on. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm at TI Resource Explorer at dev.ti.com, and I'm looking through some of the examples. So I'm under the SimpleLink CC26X2 SDK, and I'm under the 26X2R LaunchPad, and then the Bluetooth 5 stack examples, and then I see an example called Project Zero. So I'm going to go to that Project Zero example and add it. I'm going to import it to CCS Cloud, and then I'm going to flash my LaunchPad and then get started. All right, so I have my CCS Cloud open. Okay, so I'm going to flash the Project Zero app. Okay, so it looks like the BLE app, the Project Zero app, is loaded, and I'm going to reset the board with this top button just to make sure everything's okay. One quick tip I found in the documentation is that before flashing the actual app file, you need to flash the boot image manager, the BIM. So if you look in the documentation and on Rex, you'll be able to find that, and you need to flash that onto the device first and then flash the app. But now that I've done that, it looks like everything's working. So I'm going to open my iPhone app here. So here I have my SimpleLink starter app, and you can see Project Zero. So that's my board. I can connect there, and then I go into sensor view. Then in sensor view, it looks like it's going to give me the option to blink some LEDs and read some button pushes off the board. So let me show you the board here. It looks like I can turn on the red LED, the green LED, and that's working. And then if I do some button presses here on the board, it looks like the phone will read them. See if you guys can see that. That's cool. It looks like the Bluetooth 5 connection is working. And now I should be able to flash the Thread stack over the Bluetooth connection using an OAD and update the firmware on the device to set up a simple Thread network. So I'm going to go in to this firmware download section. I can select my file. There's one on there called Thread, and it'll start to program. So I selected the file, then I hit Start OAD, and it should start to program. So it looks like it's starting now, and it should flash the Thread stack when this is done. Okay, so it looks like my OAD is complete. So it looks like the thread stack was flashed. It's kind of hard to tell from looking at the LaunchPad. So now I'm going to go in to the documentation on the thread example, see what to do next. So it looks like I need to set up my thread network. So I'm using a terminal program TerraTerm to interact here. So let me open it up, set up the serial port. So it looks like I have my serial port all set up. So I'm going to follow the documentation here to set up the network. Channel 14. All right, now I'm starting the thread network. I'm going to read the state of my device, and it's a leader. Okay, so it looks like the thread stack was flashed to the device, and now I've set up the network. So the next thing I'm going to do, I noticed I wanted to add a node so I could actually test the network, and I noticed in the TI's Resource Explorer that there is a couple of node examples for a thread network, and I found one called Shade, which I assume is like automated blinds. So I'm going to open up a second LaunchPad here to run the Shade example. Okay, so I plugged my second LaunchPad in here. I'm going to unplug the first one just while I program the next one. So I'm going to open up CCS Cloud again, and I see the Shade example. So I'm going to flash that onto my board right now. Okay, so it looks like the Shade example was successfully flashed on the board, and then I gave it a reset as usual just to make sure. And now looking through the Shade documentation, it looks like this example can work with either a terminal or an LCD screen. So I do have a little sharp LCD screen for the LaunchPad, and I'm going to go ahead and use that. Okay, so now I have my LCD screen on, and it looks like there are some credentials on the screen for provisioning the device. So now it looks like I need to commission the Shade device into the network using the thread LaunchPad that I flashed earlier. So I'm going to start the commissioner. And then using the credentials that are displayed on the LCD screen attached to the Shade device, I should be able to add it to the network. So I'm using the EUI on the screen, as well as the passcode, which is Shade X1. Okay, so it looks like the Shade device joined the network, and there's now a nice graphic on the LaunchPad. I don't know if you can see. So it looks like I'm looking through blinds at a scene outside. So that's pretty cool. One advantage to using the LCD screen instead of the terminal. Now let me look at back at the documentation. So on the main thread device, the leader, it looks like I need to start the co-app. Actually, first looking at the documentation, I need to ping so I can get the IP address of the Shade device. All right, and then I'll start the co-app service. So it looks like I was able to start that. Okay, so now I'm going to send a co-app get command to check the state of the blinds. And it looks like the blinds device sent back some hex string, which probably means whatever the state is. So it responded. So the network's working, which is pretty cool. And now it looks like I can control the blinds. So I can draw them, close them, or open them. It looks like they're open now, so I'm going to try to close them. So if you can see, the image turned to closed blinds, which is pretty neat. And then it looks like the next thing I can do is have drawn blinds, which I guess is the blinds pulled all the way open. So I'll do a blinds, another co-app post, and I'll do drawn. And it worked. So it looks like the blinds are open. So it looks like it's a pretty neat demo just to start to understand and play with Thread. It's not a full network, but it's pretty cool because we started in BLE, did an OAD, flashed another board to a full Thread device, which was the leader of the network, and then we were able to control these blinds objects. I also looked in there and it looks like there's a door lock and a thermometer/temperature sensor pair. So I'm sure you can use some other end devices with the network as well. And if you want to get started, you can visit the LaunchPad page for the Launch XL CC26X2R, and I'll put the link down in the description here. And you can also visit TI Resource Explorer at dev.ti.com, and you should be able to get to all these same examples that I ran. If you have any questions for me, or about the examples, you can post on E2E. You can also tweet at me at Sensor2Cloud and ask questions about this cool example. But it was pretty nice. So thanks for joining me today, guys, and happy developing.